Wonderful day and welcome. My name is Seth and we are back with the heavy bowgun of the 3 ranged weapons after finishing the light bowgun video up. Yes, it is the same weapon but heavy. That doesn't mean there's differences in mechanical or playstyle of these 2 weapons, and we're gonna take a look at that today. Just like the light bowgun, we're gonna need to take a look at the crafting first, and then we're gonna go into the quest for moveset and gameplay. And yes, I'm gonna go over the basics and everything again for this bowgun too, because there's people that will only watch the heavy guide or only the light guide. So we're gonna check out first the equipment itself, because other than the melee weapons, we have different stats or different information about ranged weapons than we have of the melee weapons, of course. Ranged weapons don't have sharpness, so you won't see that. And here you can see in your equipment info the information about your bowgun. For heavy bowgun we have, just like light bowgun, the raw damage, the scope, the reload speed, the recoil amount, and the attack level. On the 3rd page and the 4th page though, we have the same as the light bowgun, and that is the bullet types and the amount each bowgun can have. Each bowgun has different amount of, well, available bullet types and the amount it can load in the magazine. We're gonna go over these bullets real quick now, so we have that behind us. These bullets have different levels, and depending on which level the ammo is, it does have different strength, but also some drawback like more recoil or more deviation. But we're gonna come to that in a second. We're gonna go over what the bullets do. We have normal S, which is straight up just shot, does damage, and that's it. The only specialty here is that the level 3 version of the normal shot has a split up. Like if you shoot it, there is like a split up in a very weird angle. So if you have a bigger monster and you shoot at it straight, the level 3 bullet, it will split up like a splinter from it and then hit the monster again. Then we have the Pierce S bullets, which is, how the name suggests, a bullet that pierces through enemies, or like pierces through monsters. So it has a multi-hit functionality. So to effectively hit this, you want to obviously stay at the monster in an angle where you can shoot this pierce at its body, so that you can hit the monster as much as possible when the bullet travels through it. Then we have the Pellet S, which is basically a shotgun. It is a close range ammo type, which you just shot, and it has like a spread and also multi-hits the monster if you close enough. And yes, you can hit your teammates with this, so be careful in multiplayer, because this can be very annoying if you have melee people with you, like a hammer user. The monster is down, you're gonna go in and want to shoot your pallet, and there's no flinch free skills in use. You will stun lock your teammate and maybe miss the chance for the hammer user to stun lock the monster or anything else. So be careful in multiplayer with pallet shots, because these are crazy stun lock bullets for teammates. Then we have the Crack Ass, which is like a delayed explosive bullet. You shoot it at a monster, it does explosive damage after like 1 or 2 seconds. And if you hit the head with this, you also do stun value. So Crack Ass can be used to stun a monster if you hit the monster, and it can be stunned. So keep that in mind. Then we have the Cluster S. This is a very powerful mortar bullet. Like you shoot it and it explodes in like splinter explosions. It is like a multi-explosive bullet, and explosive damage usually does fixed damage, so you can imagine how, like, if you hit this bullet fully on the monster, it hurts. The Recovery S, which is a recovery bullet, it restores HP if you shoot this at your teammates. Then we have PSN, Para, and SLP, which is poison, paralysis, and sleep. Status elements, pretty straightforward, does the exact same as you will do with melee weapons. Paralysis, poison, and sleep buildup, straightforward. Then on the 4th page we have the elemental bullets, and we have utility bullets: fire, water, thunder, ice, and dragon. Then we have Trank Ass, which does the same as a tranquilizer bomb. So if you stay away from the monster, your teammates want to capture the monster in the trap, you can load this bullet in, shoot at the monster and has the same effect as a tranquilizer bomb, good for capturing. Then we have Paint S, which is the same as a paintball. Shoot at it, mark it, donezo. Then we have Demon S and Armor S, which have the same effect as like Armor Flute and Demon Flute, Demon Juice and Armor Juice, right? Just damage and defense for your teammates if you shoot this bullet at them. Then we have a hidden stat, which you can't see, but it does exist and can be influenced with skills and other mechanics, and that is the deviation. Deviation is pretty much if you shoot the bullet straight, it has a slight chance for moving left or right, and the deviation depends on the bullet usually. More like some bullets have more deviation than others, and it depends also on what skills you have, etc, etc. But other than that, what we want to check out here at the smithy is how the crafting, upgrading and attachments work for bowguns. If you craft bowguns, usually the norm or like the general rulers, other than where you have melee weapons and you have like the different versions here, like Kiri Ball, Crimson Club, Hero Blade, and then you turn them into new tier weapons. Like if you have a Bone Chris, you can just turn it into Bone Chris Plus and then into Bone Sickle or a Bone Sickle Dual Sword, right? And then the Bone Pick Folder, and then there has different paths, etc. This is how melee weapons work. This is not the case for bowguns per se, but bowguns are very clustered and chaotic. As you can see here, we have these different types of bowguns, as you all normally have, but most of them are just upgrading the raw damage, and that's it. So as I see here, I have S Arbalest and S Arbalest 2. So the difference here is that is a different version, or like the different path version of what the melee weapon would have for the bowgun. So I have Arbalest here, and if I look at both of them, they are nearly identical, with the addition that the normal Arbalest has less raw damage than the Arbalest 2, but it has the addition to have different bullet types available. So you can decide if you want to craft this one or this one, and then you can upgrade them. If you look at Arbalest, you can upgrade the levels, and that's it. You can't upgrade this one into the Arbalest 2, and if you go to the Arbalest 2, it also has just an upgrade and raw damage 5 times or 4 times because you start at 1. This is how the level up usually works. But there are special case scenarios, especially for something like Zenith bowguns. I noticed Zenith bowguns have this usually. They have actually tier upgrades like you would do with a normal melee weapon. And this is different from bowgun to bowgun. Some have more, some have less, but they don't have the traditional level up thing. Then we also have G-rank weapons. G-rank weapons have the level G-rank system. Some G-rank bowguns have the possibility to upgrade them with this like level system, like as you can see here, and some doesn't. It's very chaotic and all over the place, so you need to actually take a look at the weapons itself and what it upgrades and what not. So keep an eye out. It's just a bit chaotic. I'm gonna look into if I can somehow like organize this better in my patch or something for convenience reasons. But right now, this is how the game handles it on its default values. Okay, so now we're gonna check out when you upgrade these bowguns, you have different options. So if we look here now, then you have attachments you can put on your bowgun. These attachments are freely exchangeable, so you can install the shield and then you can exchange this for the power bell if you want, etc. You can put the scope in or move the scope. And the scope is like side attachment, and then you have a main attachment here where you need to choose if you want this one or this one, depending on your preference, what you need for X hunt. The scope is just a zoom in function, so you can zoom in your shots while being in first person mode, and that's about it. So for heavy bowgun, we have the shield as the standard attachment, which is like an auto guard shield that can block certain attacks. There's a threshold and a limit to this. You can't block every attack, of course, but it auto blocks attacks if they're on this like threshold limits, and then you just don't get any damage. Then we have the power barrel, which just increases the accuracy of the shots, and it just increases damage slightly. So you can choose if you want the safety of the shield, or if you want to dodge more but want more damage and precision in exchange for it. Then we have a variation of these attachments for heavy bowguns, and we have a heat beam and a heavy barrel. The heavy barrel and the scope are exactly the same as before. The heavy barrel is just a stronger version of the power barrel, so it does the same thing, and you can only have heat beam or that. Heat beam, on the other hand, is a special version attachment that has like kind of the effect. If you saw the light bowgun video, you know that goo weapons have an ultra rapid fire mode, and this is basically the special version of like shooting for the heavy bowgun. So we're gonna go ahead and install this heat beam because we're gonna show this in this side the quest, and you can again only choose between the heat beam or the heavy barrel or power barrel, and the scope you can install at any time as a side attachment. You can exchange them at any time for some money, and that's about it. The heat beam can also be attached to G rank and Zenith weapons with sigils. There's a sigil that adds the heat beam to those weapons via the sigil slot, so you can actually use this heat beam still later on, but there's also a different heat beam version in extreme style, so don't worry about that. And that's for, well, the crafting section. I will timestamp this, of course, and now we're gonna go into the Earth style itself and check out gameplay, mechanic, etc. inside of a quest. So we're gonna see you on the quest. Alright, here we are now inside of the quest, and we're gonna check out everything related to heavy bowgun in terms of moveset, etc. For first time enjoyers, on the right side of the screen you can see now an overlay with an Xbox One controller and a PS4 controller. These are two there for visualization, so they mimic my input in real time, so you can see what I'm pressing and do. And this is just for better understanding. If you have trouble understanding me, maybe your English is not that good, and you just want to know what I'm pressing for X combo, then you can do this. If you're a keyboard or a mouse user, you simply just need to figure out what the hotkey I'm pressing on the controller is corresponding on the keyboard, and then you can do the exact same thing. So if I press the item button, which is the X button on controller, then you just need to figure out, oh, what is the item button on, well, the keyboard, and then you can just do the exact same thing I'm doing here with the controller. Simple. Also, to stop the confusion about saying the same buttons over and over again, for example, Y and triangle, B and circle, every move, I'm gonna refer to these as the main and side attack button, the Y main attack button and the B side attack button, because these are the most used core buttons for most of the things, and the other buttons are not that intertwined, but they have a use, of course, and are more coherent with each other, so we're not gonna name them specially. But let's see what's going on with heavy bowgun. So first of all, we're gonna do the same as we will do in the melee weapon guides. We're just gonna go over the buttons, what to do, and then explain whatever is going on meanwhile. So if you have your weapon unsheathed, there's nothing special going on you can do here except just unsheathing it. The heavy bowgun is way slower than the light bowgun in like everything. That's why it's heavy. So if you press the main attack button, then you will just unsheath the weapon, and that's about it. If you press the side attack button or side and main attack button, then nothing special will happen except unsheathing, and side attack does nothing. When you have unsheathed though, then the side attack button turns into your fire button, and with that you can shoot. You can shoot your bullets you have. On the top left corner, where normally your sharpness is, under the stamina bar, you can see your bullet count. And as you remember where we checked the equipment info on the weapon, you can see how much bullets the different bowguns load for what ammo type. I have normal level 1 now, and I have quite a lot of bullets in this gun. I think 12. It's pretty straight explanatory. Also, if you have the heat beam in the goo weapon, then you can see right under the bullet count the heat meter that builds up if you shoot anything else than the level 1 bullets. So when we have level 1 bullets here, we shoot, nothing happens. If we go and take normal level 2, then you will see that when I'm shooting, the red bar is slowly filling up with every shot I'm doing. This is the heat bar, and we're gonna come to that back. For the bullet itself, it's pretty straightforward. The yellow ones mean this is the bullets you have left, and the gray ones mean this is the bullets you're missing. With the main attack button, when your weapon is unsheathed, you can reload as soon as you miss one bullet, and it will reload every missing bullet you have. If you happen to shoot all your bullets out and then try to shoot again, you will be stuck in this, oh, I'm out of bullet animation. So make sure that you keep an eye on your bullet count to not run into that accidentally by shooting. Otherwise, you most likely will get hit by a monster attack, which is most likely hurting too. The reload animation is tied to your weapon. We saw that in the stat screen of the equipment info. Different skills, etc. also influence the reload speed, so always check on that. Then we have also a recoil, and depending on the recoil and what ammo you're shooting, the higher the level the ammo and the more powerful the ammo is, like crack or cluster, you will have more knockback when shooting. It will like lock you down in animations if you have a high recoil count, so keep an eye on that. Heavy bowguns are usually less affected by recoil than light bowguns for the playstyle. Heavy bowguns are like more stationary and have like a more sturdier stance than something like light bowgun. But there's also heavy ones which give you a huge knockback if you don't have the correct skills or, well, weaker heavy bowguns, of course. Then when you reload, you see a quick time bar. This bar is not a perfect shot bar, but a compressing bar. So heavy bowgun has the specialty that you can compress the shots of your bowgun, which multiplies the damage of the amount of bullets you're shooting. So if we reload now, you will see there's this bar with a red section, a white section, and a blank section. If you just ignore this and just let it run out the blank, that is the normal reload and you get your bullets back. If I now reload and hit the red one, then the reload will fail. You will be stuck in like a long animation of, oh, I messed up, but you still will reload your bullets. So it still works, you just fail the compression. If you hit the line on the white area though and then reload, you will actually compress your shots, as you see there. Now you see on the top left that the bullets are all like clumped together into one, and when you shoot, you will shoot all the bullets in one attack pretty much. And yes, it can be as powerful as it looks. You can compress your shots and do the damage of all these bullets in one. The thing is, the multiplier for the different bullet types is different for each type. I don't have a list, unfortunately, with like data for this, like which multiplier is what. Bear with me there. Then we're gonna talk about the melee attacks, because they're a bit strange. The light bowgun has a triple hit melee attack with fixed damage, and there's a caravan skill which can increase this by 3 times. It is not much damage, but it do slash damage usually. The thing with the heavy bowgun is though that you have the melee attack 2 up to 3 times, but instead of like slashing on the last hit, you actually do, well, that. The thing is, I have no idea what this exactly does or how this exactly functions. I don't see any impact or anything, so it's not a mortar shot, and I didn't see any specific information about this. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't do slash damage, so you can't cut tails with that last shot. But it is there, and well, if any crazy guys out there who can like test this with an overlay or something, what actually happens here, feel free to and let me know, because I have no idea. I just know you have the same as the light bowgun, the triple hit combo and this explosion in the end, but what is the exact purpose is, no idea. To do the melee attacks, you simply just spam the main and side attack button when your weapon is unsheathed up to 3 times, and that's about it. Also, this doesn't cost any bullet, this last shot. Yo, post-edit Seth here, wanna real quick add to the heavy bowgun that the compressed shots are not always available for every bullet. I'm not exactly sure the criteria here, but if you look at the icon of the bullet when you choose your ammo in the item menu, then you can see that next to the bullet is either an icon with 1 bullet or 2 bullets. If there's 2 bullets like layered after each other, like a bullet in front of another, like a double bullet icon, this means this shot can be compressed. If it's only a single one, that means you can't compress that shot. And if you reload, the reload bar will be a normal one without the perfect shot white section, so you can't compress that shot. Putting this out there, editing this in, and back to the video. So let's talk about the heat laser, or the, well, Gravius laser you can shoot from your heavy bowgun. The heat beam. Yeah, you heard right. You can shoot a Gravius laser out of your heavy bowgun. It is one of the highlights of this weapon. This laser fills up with the heat beam god, as I told you before, which is right under the bullets. If you shoot anything else than the normal level 1 bullet, you will fill up this meter. So if I go and shoot the flame S, you will see that this red bar fills up the more bullets I shoot. This bar acts as a little combo meter, so if you stop shooting after a while, it will decrease over time. So you want to keep shooting to keep this like bar up. But here's a little trick. In your bullet bar, you have a heat bomb infinite ammo type you can load up. If you load this up and keep this loaded, the heat beam will not decrease. You can use this to stop the decrease of the heat beam if you like need to run from another area to another area to follow up a monster, and not losing this like combo state of that heat beam. So even if I like put my weapon away, as long as I keep that heat beam bullet or heat bomb loaded, it will not decrease that meter. Keep that in mind, and a little trick for you to work with that, because the heat beam can only be used if you fill up that meter completely, and then it changes from red to rainbow. Also, if you shoot compressed shots, all these bullets will count, so you can, with a compressed shot, fill that like bar up. So compressed still works pretty efficiently with heat beam too. I'm gonna fill this heat beam real quick up, and then I'm gonna see you when we have that thing ready. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that the compression shot does give you decently knockback animation, so keep that in mind if you're shooting compressed shots, because that's like another drawback if you shoot all bullets in one go, instead of having like this steady stance where it doesn't. But as you can see, we have now the rainbow colored heat beam, and this means we can now shoot the heat beam laser, or the Gravius laser. And to do this, we can simply just equip the heat bomb ammo in the like the ammo bar here, and then when this is loaded, we can shoot as we normally would. This laser is a multi-hit laser, where the more you hit it on the monster, the better the damage is, of course. So you want to make sure you have freedom and possibility to shoot this laser freely, because if you mess this up, you lose a lot of DPS, and especially ammo, because you needed ammo to fill kind of this heat beam in the first place. The heat beam damage itself is flat damage plus fire damage, so kind of like the special explosive of Gunlands, or the special like I call it compression shot, but it's like this like powerful step shot in light bowgun, where you have like this special like calculation. And I don't know the other numbers, how exactly like the flat damage is and how much is influenced, but the longer you, or the more you have the bar off, the more damage you have, and if you hit it. But you can then start loading this heat beam, and it has a little charge up time, and then when you press shoot, it charges, and you can move a little bit in the direction, and bada bing, bada boom, just like that, you shoot a massive Gravius laser. Very impressive, very fun to use, and one of the highlights of the heavy bowgun, especially because this is a variable science earth style. You just need to have the right bowgun for it. Then we need to talk about two more things. I'm gonna explain the aiming now, and then we're gonna talk about critical distance. Aiming you can do with R1. That is the aiming button on the controller. You can tap it or you can hold it, and depending on your settings under options, input options, you have well, different versions here. So I'm gonna reset the things real quick to, yeah, the standard you usually have, and then we're gonna talk about them. So first of all, we have the Bowgun camera type. So if I press R1, I'm gonna enter first person mode. If I just press R1 once, tap it, and then tap it again, I get out of it. This is just first person. It doesn't allow you to move at all. You can just shoot first person and then turn around 360 degree, but you are stationary. So keep that in mind. If you have the zoom scope, then you can obviously zoom in with the camera, but you have also first person mode, which allows you to move and then at the same time see where your crosshair is moving, so you know where you're shooting at. And these aiming modes can be influenced with these options, which a lot of people maybe don't even know, but there's actually some quality of life changes, and it just makes the bow gameplay much better, because this is just second gen bow gameplay, and well, especially if you play with a controller versus a recommend for this game, it's pretty clunky, alright? It depends a little bit of the dead zones and sensitivity of the controller camera of yours, but it is clunky, alright? It is PS2 era first person shooting, and like shooting in general, it's very like not great. But with these options you can influence this bit. So if you go look into input options, Bowgun camera type, there's 5 different versions, and type 1 to 4 are pretty much just variations of its own, and 5 is a completely different type actually. So 1 is the default standard. You have just nothing special going on here. The camera pans when you move, the crosshair to left and right with you, and that's about it. Then with type 2 in place, now the camera doesn't zoom in over the shoulder anymore if you aim, like as you see here, and compare this to type 1, the camera normally like zooms in and tries to like do this like over the shoulder look, which is not happening anymore in this camera type 2. And if you prefer that, you can have that. Other than that, it's the exact same than before. Then on type 3, we have a mix of both, kind of. If you start walking and then going into the third person aiming, you will have the stationary camera, not the over the shoulder, but as soon as you stop and be stationary, it zooms in and stays zoomed as long as you're staying in this camera mode. And as you can see, when we move, the camera still zooms in, but if we get out of it and then just start walking normally without like staying still, it will be the normal camera. So this is just a preference option. Type 4 on the other hand is, well, I actually have no idea what it is. Yeah, type 4 seems the same to me than as type 2, just with less aggressive camera panning when you move the camera automatically. So tell me if this is right or not, because I have no idea what else will be different here than type 2. It's exactly the same in my eyes, so let me know. Type 5, on the other hand, is very interesting now. On Type 5, it changes how this camera behaves. So if you now in first person, nothing changes, but the third person camera now locks these crosshair on the middle of the screen. This means you can move your hunter without moving the camera, and you can move the camera yourself manually, which is a way better feeling, because you have way better overview over your like hunting and combat than you would have with the auto panning camera. So this is a huge change, and I prefer this one the most because it's like way better overview than anything else. It locks the camera to the default middle position, so you need to adjust yourself to that, but you can move separately from the camera, which is very helpful. Then on the second page of the input, we have the aim angle reset. If you start aiming in third person like this, it will always go to the default aiming. So if I go up and then go back, it will always reset to the default point. If I now do input option and then aim angle reset type 2, which is the only two options we have, this actually saves the last point you had, or your last angle you had. So if I go up here and then go back into the aiming, it will save that aim angle, and this is very helpful if you need to reposition and there's a flying monster and you just don't want to like go all the way up from here to there every time you need to move because the monster's attacking, and very, very neat quality of life. The aiming type is very important because this is a huge change. Aiming type influences your first person aiming. So as you can see here, first person normally lets you not move and you can only turn around 360 degree on the point. With changing the aiming type now to 2, which is the only 2 options, we can go into third person, and now we can actually move while staying in first person. Crazy, right? Yes, it is. And the only thing you need to keep in mind here is that this swaps the controls a little bit, and other than before you move the camera now in this mode with the left stick instead of the D-pad as before, and the D-pad is now up and down for zooming in and out, and the left stick is for the camera, and right stick obviously is just moving. This is very neat and also a huge quality of life feature, and actually changes the gameplay in this regard. You have now the option to move while being in first person, which is very huge. Obviously you can choose whatever you want or prefer, but this is my choice. Then we have aiming camera type, which is just swapping the controls for going into first and third person mode. So on type 1, if we tap the L1 button, we go into third person mode. And if we tap it again, we get out. If we hold the L1, the aiming mode button, then we go into third person. And if we release it and don't hold it anymore, it goes out. With the option now, we can swap this if you prefer that. So if we do aiming camera type 2, then we tap the button for going into third person mode, and it stays as long as we not tap again. And if we hold the button, we stay in first person mode. As soon as we release it, we get out of it. This is just a preference thing, if you like it this way or this way. And obviously, if you like X mode better, then it's more convenient to just toggle that mode and then just instead of holding. And the last option, which is not that important, but it's like a little quality of life for some people, the normal level 1 shots, which are infinite and always in your inventory, your bullet inventory. You can disable this to not appear if you prefer this and just want to use your normal bullets and not want to Buddha with this, having this there, because you can then have a free slot, and less slots means faster aiming. So if I disable a 1 shot, then you will see it's gone. Now we can have one faster swap between ammo, which can be very helpful. And if you run out of ammo at some point, you can at any time enable this again, and then you have it back. Quality of life. And the last thing we need to talk about is critical distance. Each ammo type has critical distance, except status and elemental. Elemental shots and status don't have that. Critical distance is not as complicated as it sounds, and it's very simple. I was first confused, but someone in the community by the name of Red, yes, he just wanted to be called Red, explained it to me, and now I understand it. So if you're shooting with your bowgun, you will see that there's this white circle effect happening. Depending on the ammo you have and the ammo type you're shooting, this circle will be different, or like on different positions. So on the normal shot, it's very close to us, but on the crack shot, it's very far away. This is the critical distance minimum range. After that circle, the bullet will be stronger. The trick here is now that this bullet, the further it travels from that circle, after that circle, the damage will fall off. So if you want the damage boost from the critical distance, you need to hit the monster right after that white circle, but the monster needs to stay behind that white circle. If you hit it before, you don't get damage. That is the most effective way to use critical distance. This is just the indicator, and it helps you positioning yourself. Depending what ammo you load in, you need to reposition yourself to the monster. This indicator is just there for that. That is critical distance. Critical distance boosts the damage of that bullet in heavy bowgun by 200%, so it's like double damage. It's very much worth it. You just need to make sure the monster is right behind that circle to have the maximum effect. Otherwise, the damage falls off, the further it travels, and you maybe lose some damage. But that's it. That is everything about heavy bowgun in Earth style and its basics. So we're gonna switch over to Heaven style, see what's up there, and right on time, the quest is over, and I'm gonna switch. See you in a second. Okay, back with Heaven, we have only one quick change, and that is the ability to sidestep now after your shots. That's actually all there is to Heaven style. I'm not kidding. You know how light bowgun can do sidesteps after a shot? Well, in Heaven style you have that too in heavy bowgun. Other than that, it's the exact same as Earth style. There's no reason to not put Heaven over Earth style if you have the choice, and you can just do with the dodge button and directional input to left or right, a sidestep right after shooting. Not forward, not backwards, just left and right. We just can chain this up to 2 times in left or right leg move together. It just depends where you want to move. I'm gonna see you in Storm where there's actually a little bit more going on. Alright, back with Storm style we have, well, the new mechanic or one change again, but it's basically Heaven style, just better. So if you have the choice between Heaven and Storm style, you want to pick Storm style. Your Storm style has a new mechanic. That is the mechanic of charged shots. You can charge your shots to load them up and shoot them with more power. The drawback is that your normal shots, if you don't charge your shot at least one level, they are weaker than 100%. You have 5% debuff on your shots if you don't charge them, which, well, can be annoying if you want a more fast-paced shooting style, but you can boost up your shots on top of like everything up to 50% from your normal damage. And you can compress the shots and use the charge on top of that too. So you can do some crazy damage with Storm style, and to load this up it's very simple. You just hold the firing button and wait and shoot whenever you want. But one thing I did forget to mention in Heaven style is that the step has a little bit extra mechanic. It's not really important, but you know how you can adjust your attack side like left and right a little bit when you're doing greatsword charging attacks. This is kind of similar. If you do the step and shooting, you can after the step then have a directional input and very slightly, just like around 30 degrees, adjust yourself to left or right. It is not really significant. It can add up if you do a lot of like dodge stabs, but charge shots. Charge shots start at 95% without any charge. So if you just shoot like this will be 95% strong, so 5% reduction in damage. But if you start charging now, you can charge up to 3 times, and then you have 50%. It goes from 95% to 115%, 130 and 150. So 15%, 30%, 50% increase. So it is definitely worth it to charge fully up, but obviously you can't always charge completely up when the monster is moving. Just make sure you are at least on level 1 to mitigate the debuff of the normal shots being 5% weaker, and you still get at least 50% increase. That's about it. Also, with charging your shots up, the bullets will be slightly faster than not shooting, so this helps with like propelling the bullets faster into your enemy. I'm not sure how much it is, but it's not that much. It is there, so keep that in mind. So you definitely want to do charge up your attacks. It is more like a precision timing figure. Also, to get actually the 50% full charge damage, you need to time the shot. Yes, it is like a greatsword charge mechanic. You can overcharge that bullet. If you let the bullet overcharge, it automatically shoot on itself, which happens after like 1 second or something. When you're full charged automatically, you will only have a level 2 charged shot. So you want to make sure to take a look at the visual cue and the sound cue to shoot and release it on the right timing. So if I load now, 1, 2, 3, and then you saw that instant of me releasing on that like level 3 shot, it just turned back into this like small visual cue, and it reduced the damage to level 2 charge. So you want to release this on the cue to get the max damage out of this. Keep that in mind. And that's it for Storm style. We're gonna switch over to Extreme style and see what's going on there. See you in a bit. Alright, back with Extreme style, we looking at the best option for heavy bowgun in terms of styles. Yes, Extreme style is based on Storm style and just better. For heavy bowgun, extreme style is the best option you have. You keep everything you have before with extras. Extreme style is based on storm style. This means the charge shots are back, but this time extreme style removes the debuff of the 5% when you don't charge your shots up. So if I shoot a normal shot, we have 100% damage on that bullet. I don't need to charge if I don't want to. Other than that, the charge works exactly the same as before. And you can boost this up to 150%. Pretty neat. But what makes extreme style so unique is the possibility of running around with your weapon unsheathed. That is the core mechanic of every extreme style for every weapon. If you normally have your weapon unsheathed like this, you can run in cost of stamina, of course. And if you are in combat with the weapon unsheathed, you need to put your weapon away to start running again. With extreme style, on the other hand, you have the option now to double flick in any direction you want, or you want to walk. And then you start running with the weapon unsheathed, which still costs stamina because it counts as a normal run. You have the option to chase down monsters, and you are very much mobile in combat, even with weapons like the heavy bowgun, which is a huge difference if you think about how slow you move normally with heavy bowgun. This movement speed when you run is determined by how heavy your weapon is. If you have a heavier weapon like heavy bowgun, you don't run as fast as someone's a light bowgun or SNS, for example, and more like a greatsword user. Then you usually have special abilities or attacks you can do outside of this with melee weapons. For bowgun specifically, we don't have any special attacks, but we have the possibility to actually do a reload while running. Also, you can still use the third person shooting crosshair mode to actually run while being in that mode without downtime, which is pretty neat. And we can start running at any time again, and when we shoot, we stop obviously and shoot normally, but we can run straight up again and stay in the third person mode too. We can't run in the first person mode, so keep that in mind. So if you start running, you need to stop to go into first person mode, otherwise you can't run. And if you're in the first person mode, you can't extreme run either, because it is technically stationary, even if you can move with the camera type change. Other than that, you can reload while running. If you saw the light bowgun video, then you can reload your weapon while running without any downtime. The only downside is that if you reload, you can't change directions when running. So if I run now straight ahead, then reload and try to go to left or right while being in the reload animation, you can't do that. Keep this in mind if you do this, because otherwise you're gonna get hit while reloading and you are questioning yourself if it was your fault or the game. But this is how it works. Obviously, this is actually huge for heavy bowgun, because this reload animation is 10 million times faster than staying still and reloading. If I just reload like this, depending on your equipment or your bowgun, reload speed, it will be can be slow. But if you do it while running, it's way faster and way more mobile than just being stationary and reloading. This is a big weakness of the great bowgun, and this extreme running reload fixes that. And yes, you can also do compression shots inside of this, but you will stop running, so you need to be careful when you do that. So if I reload and then do a compression shot, I will stop running, but I get the compression shot on top of that. Then we have the extreme laser or extreme heat beam. This is just a better version of the heat beam you usually have on goo weapons or with the Sigil edition, and you can have both of them the same time active, but the blue one, the new one in extreme style, is just a better version. So if you have the choice, you probably want to use this. It has a bigger downtime than the normal laser, but it's way superior stronger. If you use this laser, you need to position yourself. Also, you don't lose the normal heat laser, the combat over time thing. So as you can see here, I have already a little bit because I tested it out. the blue bar fills up just like the other bar, and then you have your heat bomb ammo right here. It is not translated right now, which I'm probably gonna do in my balance patch next. I just noticed, but this infinite ammo is the heat laser, the extreme one. Functions the same, just with the addition that you don't lose that meter out of combat if you don't shoot or have the heat bomb not loaded. Other than that, it fills up exactly like the heat beam. You need to shoot anything else than level 1 normal shots, and then you fill this meter up. The specialty is that you need to be in the presence of a large monster. You don't need to aggro the monster, you just need to be in the same area as the big monster. So if I go over here now real quick, and this is why I have this quest open the entire time, we're gonna see Odi, the little turtle boy, over there. Odi Batarasu is not triggered right now, but as you can see when I shoot now my normal level 2, the blue bar actually fills up. And we can just abuse this technically to fill up the meter without triggering the monster. But obviously you will waste ammo, so if you don't want to waste ammo, you want to use it while attacking the monster. And to show you that it doesn't fill up when you're not inside that area, there you go. So I'm gonna fill this one real quick up, and then I'm gonna show you what you can do, because there's 2 options you have with that laser bar. Alright, before we now fully load up the heat beam, the extreme heat beam bar, I'm gonna show you the first thing you can do with a little bit of the bar, and you don't need to have it fully loaded for that. At any time when you have the blue bar available, you can press the main and side attack button, which is normally the melee attack, to do an explosive evade. This evade costs a little bit of the blue bar, but it allows you to do a dodge that is kind of like the tonfa dodge. You jump back to get away from the monster, and yes, it does have chunky amount of iframes, so it's pretty nice to dodge attacks if you time it well. You are locked down in this animation, you can't do anything else. It is purely a safety net to dodge an attack, of course. But it's like a risk-free, and the only thing you sacrifice is a little bit of blue bar. Just keep that in mind. If you want to use the laser, you don't want to spam that. That explosive dodge is depending on your hunter's direction. It always dodges in the direction your hunter is facing, backwards. So if I'm looking into the camera, then I jump forward, in this case, from the camera angle. If I'm looking to the right, I dodge left, etc., etc. It always jumps backwards with a backflip from your hunter's facing position. Also, to mitigate the recovery animation when you land, which is pretty lengthy, you can start running or dodge rolling immediately after landing to kind of just, get a better feeling for it and not be stuck in that long animation. Alright, now with the heat laser in place and loaded in, we can actually take a look at this mega version, extreme version of the heat beam, and that's what be it for extreme style. As I said, this beam is actually way stronger in making you unable to do anything while firing it, so make sure you have the positioning for it so you don't waste this, because it costs you ammo per heat up build, so it's kind of valuable. It acts exactly as the normal laser, otherwise than that, fixed damage and some heat damage, and the more you shoot at the monster, the more you burn its dive down. So if we now start shooting, we can still do the same as we did in the normal laser. We can adjust the direction until this happens. Yeah, you saw right. This is a feature of this weapon. If Monster Hunter Frontier is not over the top Monster Hunter game in terms of style, then I don't know what is. But that is for the extreme style, and we can move on to the city, check out the active feature and the tech skill, and then we done so for Heavy Bowgun. Right, back in the city now, we're gonna take a look at the last section, and first, Sigil. I told you there is actually a sigil that can add the heat beam, or the first heat beam from the non-extreme version, to your bowgun if you have the Sigil, which means G rank weapons and Zenith weapons, etc. If you have a Sigil slot on your weapon. This Heat Beam though is not as strong as the normal one. It has only like 80% firepower and less fixed and fire damage than the normal beam, but it allows you to have both of lasers active at the same time, so you can technically have double laser build up, which is kinda neat, but just keep in mind that it's a bit weaker than you won't normally have. But you have the access to double laser, so that's kinda nice. The Sigil effect for it, or the Sigil, is called Heat Cannon Add, so have a look out for that, and then you should be all set up. Then we're gonna look at the active feature. The active feature you can see on the top left corner, right next to the season and the day-night cycle clock, and it says active feature and has icons. If the icon is red, this means for that weapon is the active feature active for 24 server hours. This means after 24 server hours it won't normally rotate, and these buffs give you like a little edge and extra oomph to your weapon and builds, so you can use this to optimize certain runs, hunts, or just having some more fun with your builds. And for the heavy bowgun, we have nothing special except that you get 10% more damage on your critical distance power, so that's about it. Then we're gonna take a look at the tech skills, and tech skills are what you want. If you want to optimize a run, or if you want to make a build specific set for a weapon type, these tech skills is what you want as your first priority, because these are compound skills that activate multiple skills in one, and with the skill limit in this game, this is very helpful. These have like base skills and then a variety of like specific builds on the highest level for that weapon. These have 3 positive ones usually, and 1 hidden one, and then 1 negative. The negative just reduces damage, and the hidden one is a very, very special version. It transforms the normal tech skill into that hidden version, and the condition for that is very special. It is not worth it for melee weapons, because the melee weapons just give you sharpness +1, which you have way better access to where skills like Sword God, and it's completely useless. For bowguns, on the other hand, you maybe want to consider it, but keep in mind that the conditions for using it, you are limited to a specific set of armors. You need to have all 4 hidden colored armors in your equipment box, and then you need to use one of these equipped to actually equip the twin hidden option in the SR settings under your equipment. That is what this twin hidden option is for. So keep in mind, you are limited to a specific set of armors you need to optimize if you want to use this. But if you want to use it and transform it, then bowguns and like heavy bowguns and light bowgun and heavy bowgun get 40% more raw damage, which is quite chunky, and maybe worth considering if the hidden set you can optimize is actually to your liking. Other than that, we have 3 positive versions. That is the first level, which is the expert level, and the tech skill, which just gives you evade extender when you have heavy bowgun, so you can dodge way farther with dodge rolls, which just wants to make up for the like low mobility you have. Then on the master level, the second level, you will have 10% more attack and the evade extender when using heavy bowguns. At the last level of the tech skill, the level 3, has always a fancy name for each weapon type. On the heavy bowgun, we have the Bullet Devil, and that one gives you super high grade earplugs, 30% more damage with heavy bowguns. Element and status bullets are 20% more effective and stronger. Obviously keep the evade distance up, and your melee attacks plus crack and cluster shots do 15 extra KO damage. This is like flat, but you can do with your melee attacks, and cluster bullets now do KO damage, which helps a lot with knocking out monsters. And Heat Beam also does 20% more damage, and on top of that, if you have a perfectly timed charge shot, it will have stronger attack power for that compressed shot. But I'm not sure how much that is, we just know it is there. And that's it for heavy bowgun. Second of the 3 range weapons on Monster Hunter Frontier, and I hope you can take something out of this. It helps you and maybe interests you in this weapon to try out. I say thank you for being here. I love you all. You have a wonderful evening, night, or day wherever you are, and I'm gonna see everyone in the next video. Good night and bye bye.